Get ready for the ultimate NRL experience. With non-stop action and top-notch analysis, this is the podcast for all rugby league fans. So join us for a deep dive into the world of rugby league and don't miss a beat of the action.
Welcome back to the Gone for 10 show. It's episode 2 of 2023. I've checked the images. I've got Baxter to check the images, so there'll be no March Nichols incident today. But obviously, guys, we are on TikTok now. We did take the piss out of that mistake a little bit. So jump on over there at the Gone for 10 show. Give it a like. But Baxter, we're here to talk about a few teams. But before we jump into that, mate, how have you been? How's your day going? And are you excited to talk about these teams before we reveal who it is?
Yeah, it's been a hot one out in the West. It's been pretty good though. Loving the likes on the TikTok and all the comments on the first podcast episode for 2023. So it's been pretty good. But look, we're going to give a shout out to one of our commenters, Sharks Master 344, mate. Look, it's just my opinion. If there was a team to kick out, it is the Warriors. You know, they don't even play in Australia, so get rid of them. Useless.
Well, I mean, what he's just done then, he's just doubled down on what he said. So I'm sure there will be a little bit of hate coming from that. But also, what we did find from our first episode is, Leroy, we will get in touch with you. You have added us on Instagram, so we will get in touch. We have a Dolphin supporter now listening, so we'll go into a bit more depth in a later episode, obviously, regarding the Dolphins. He can chuck a little fins up if he wants, and we can jump into that. But obviously, Baxter, we are here to talk about the Gold Coast Titans, the Parramatta Eels, and the Manly Sea Eagles. So we're going to jump straight into it. We'll start with the Gold Coast Titans. Very dismal season last year, but there you have on the board the 2023 losses. Herme Sasa, Jermaine Asako, Sam Lazone, Eson Masters, Greg Marshew, Kevin Proctor, Will Smith, Corey Thompson, and Jared Wallace all leaving the club. Obviously, their gains, Kieran Foran, I think that's a huge game, which we'll talk about. Chris Randall, Aaron Shoop, Joe Stimson, Sam Verrills, and Thomas Weaver. So, Baxter, talk to me about that. Obviously, a very inexperienced Titans side last year. They finished the season 3 from 5 to avoid the wooden spoon, but where to next? Is this gains list, Kieran Foran, Chris Randall, Aaron Shoop, Sam Verrills, are they the answer to this team moving forward, or is it another lackluster season coming up?
Yeah, look, it was a weird let go from the Seagulls for Kieran Foran. I thought he had his outstanding season last year, and to be let go like that, it was a bit of a sad one for me. But pick up Sammy Verrills along the way as well. So you got a 6 and a 9 there with Jaden Campbell at 1. Now the issue is just who you're going to play at 7, or does Kieran Foran play 7 and maybe AJ Bripson play 6? That's up for Justin Holbrook. But the losses, they're not too bad. You know, Corey Thompson, what a great player who had to retire. Jared Wallace, I think he's more of a liability when it comes to giving away penalties. Kevin Proctor also giving away time on the sidelines for off-field things in toilets. But that's it. That's all I've got to put on them. What about you?
Well, I mean, like you said, you brought up the halves now. I'd expect come round 1, it's going to be Kieran Foran at number 6. It's going to be probably Tanner Boyd at number 7. That's obviously my prediction. Like you said, they've got Sam Verrills. It probably gives them that speed that they need from dummy half. A few of those signings, if you're signing Verrills, do you really need Chris Randall? That's my only concern with their gains. Do you need that second player that can jump in there? When I look at their lineup and I go, you're probably going to have Jaden Campbell or AJ Brimson in the one spot. So the other one's going to be on the bench. Isaiah Liu, he's going to be on the bench. Joe Stimson, he's going to be on the bench. And obviously Jermaine Jalifi, he's going to be on the bench. So is Chris Randall purely a backup? And if he is, was it worth making that much money when you could have brought someone from the junior system up and obviously replaced the number 14 position that way? But my main question to you before we do move on is AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, both explosive, both great fullbacks on their day. Who do you see lining up come round 1 at that number 1 position?
You have to pick Jaden Campbell. He's just, I think he hasn't done anything to deserve to lose the spot. And neither is AJ Brimson. I think it's just that injury. He got close to Origin. Jaden slipped in and just stole the show. It's same thing at the Cowboys. We had the hammer there, and he went down with a little bit of an injury. So we put Scotty Drinkwater back there, and he ran away with it too. So I think it's more so he hasn't done anything to deserve to lose a spot. So, and AJ, he's good in the defensive line, so I don't mind him at 6 if you're going to push 4 into 7, but that's only if you do push 4 into 7. But we'll have to wait and see round 1 and during the trials how they line up.
Well, talking about foreign, talking about the halves partnership, all last year we talked about how the Titans had the right forwards. The Titans had those players that can break a line, but they didn't have that experience. They were very young. They were very inexperienced. Is Kieran Foran now, along with the likes of David Fafita and co, is Kieran Foran the man to go, I'm the leader, play off me, let's push for the top 8? Or, again, is it we need more leaders in this team rather than just him?
Well, he's got something on his CV that the whole club combined hasn't, and that's a premiership ring with the Manly Seagulls. So, of course, he's going to have to be that leader. He doesn't have to be the captain, but he's going to be the main man out there barking orders, telling these foot soldiers to go into their holes. Look, if you go again, like if I was playing up there with Kieran Foran is telling me to run this dummy hole, like I'm doing it. Like he's the man that you got to listen to. He knows how to win a premiership. Now, if you want to go from a bottom 4 to making an 8, you've got to listen to him. Justin Holbrook can do it, but everything's just got to fall into place, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, final question without giving it away too much, because we will do a season ladder prediction later. Top 8, bottom 8, bottom 9. If you had to pick right now, where would you be putting this side based on last year and their gains and their losses?
I have them in the bottom 9. I don't have them cracking that 8, but I have them improving a lot.
Oh, well, we will obviously touch on why you've got them in your bottom 9 in a later episode when we do go into that 1 to 17 where we think they're going to finish. But I'll throw it over to you. We're going to move on to the next side. It's a side that fell just short of a premiership last year, if you want to call it just short, because they were blown off the park in that final game. But the Parramatta Eels, take it away. There's their losses, there's their gains. Talk me through it.
Look, you got Orican Kafusi going to the Sharks. Reid Marnie goes back to the Bulldogs, say Bulldogs Junior. You got Matara McCoy to the Warriors. You got Tom Opacek to Hull Kingston Rovers. You got Isaiah Papali'i, who made that mid-season signing to the Tigers. You got Hayes Perham to the Dogs and Raystone to the Dolphins. You got Jerome Assi. Man, again, English is not my first language. I didn't pass the HSC, but he joins the Parramatta Eels. You got Matt Doherty. You got Josh Hodgson from the Canberra Raiders making a jump across. You got Jermaine Hopgood, Samuel Izu, Jack Murkichi, and Kai Rodwell, all joining the Parramatta Eels squad. Now, main man on screen, Josh Hodgson. Is he the right player to replace Reid Marnie? I will say no. 1, age. 2, he's very injury prone. He missed basically 99% of the season last year. You know, I think he was like not even the first half, he went down. So he's missed an entire season and whatnot to get back, and then back to playing. So he's had to recover. He's had the rehab, recovery, then training into a new team. I think it's just going to be one of those years where Parramatta they're going to sort of not reap the rewards, but suffer the losses of their mistakes. And mate, Reid Marnie is one of those players you got to just find a 9 like that, and you sink your teeth into him and you don't let go. So I don't have him. I know what you're going to ask me. Do you have him in my top 8 or bottom 9? I'm having him in my top 8, just with the teams around him. But I don't see him like cracking the first week of the finals, if not second.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, I wasn't even going to ask you about bottom nine because I assumed that I thought they would be there or thereabouts in that top eight. My question was going to be top eight, top four, but you just answered that. So for me, like you said, a big concern is obviously letting go of Reed, bringing in Hodgkinson. Now, yes, he was injured. I think the biggest thing to talk about it was an ACL. So I don't think I've seen a player come back from an ACL, for example, a hamstring or anything like that, and hit the ground running and be 100% from the start. Chucking on that he's coming into a new team. I think it's going to be a very, very slow start, obviously, for Hodgkinson at the Parramatta Eels. My next topic, Madison. He's going to miss the first 3 games of the season. He was given the choice when he was suspended, the $4,000 fine, the 3-game suspension. He chose the suspension. He then tried to backflip. They tried to appeal. It's been knocked back. 2-part question. Do you think the NRL was right to say, no, you took the punishment you wanted, stick by it? And then again, what does that say to a team member that he'd rather keep $4,000 than be on the field battling with you for the first 3 weeks in what is probably one of the hardest runs to the NRL season to start?
I congratulate the NRL for sticking to the guns and not letting him backflip on this. It could have been the easy way out, and it would have made headlines on the Daily Telegraph for sure. Biggest backflips, and then DCE moving from the Titans back to the Seagulls. Look, he made his own reasons, and he stuck to them when he took the 3 games instead of taking the $4,000. Look, he's got to. He had to live with it. He made his bed. He accepted the 3 games, and now he's got to lie in it. Now you can't just say, "Oh, this bed's a bit too uncomfortable. I'll like the $4,000." Look, whatever it is, that was last year. It was out. It was no one else's choice but his. So look, it's done. It's done. NRL not going to backflip. You're just going to have to suffer the consequences of the 3 games and move on from there. So, regarding to other players' thoughts on that, it's just the way it is.
Well, talking about other players, there is one probably big question mark around Parramatta, and it's not for this season. It's from the season after and onwards. Mitchell Moses, he's yet to sign on. He can negotiate with other clubs. I guess, how much do you reckon that plays on the season? How much of the season depends on what they offer Mitchell Moses to stay at the club? And ultimately, do you think he stays or do you think he goes, or is it way too early to call right now?
Well, if he was in his mind, if he was ready to leave, I think he would have signed. I think this would have been all put to bed after the World Cup, before, or really now, like well and truly before now. It would have been done, dusted, ink would have already been dried, it would have been laminated, would have been hung up on a wall somewhere if he was to move. Now, apparently the Dogs don't have the money, so they're out of the race. It's just down to the Parramatta Eels and the Tigers now. Tigers estimating around about 1.2, 1.2 and a half for his services. Parramatta around the 1.1. But look, I think what Mitch Moses is doing is good. Not sign anything, because let's just play devil advocate here. Let's just say he has a brilliant killer of a season, but he signed at the start of the season at 1.1, and then at the end of the year he's worth 1.4. Let's just say he's worth 1.4. If he doesn't sign and he's worth 1.4 at the end, well, then he can demand 1.4 from the Parramatta Eels, and they're going to have to, if they really want to keep him, they're going to have to find a way to get the money together to pay him. But again, if he signs and he has a terrible season, then it's like, well, yeah, we can take the hit this year on his contract, and maybe he comes good in the back end of his contract. But again, wait and see what happens. If it was me, I wouldn't be worrying about a single contract. Wait until the end of the year, until it's in the off season, and we'll go from there.
Well, if there is a game where Mitchell Moses is on 1.4 million, it is officially broken. So obviously we'll see what he is offered. He's good enough on his day to be worth that, but he's not consistent enough week in, week out to be on that. And like we said last year, we were both in agreement. build the team around Dylan Brown, use that money to build the players, build the future around him and moving forward. Because, yes, Moses is a great player. He can get the job done, but push comes to shove. He's older. Get a youngster in there. Work with Dylan Brown. Move on.
Yeah.
Baxter, before we move on, obviously, to Manly, which is the last sideboard review for this episode, is there anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I'm just looking. I've just got a little whisper that my mate Sean Russell has been training really hard with the Parramatta Eels. Now with Tom Apacek going to Old Kingston Rovers, there is a position available on the wing for him. Now, it's if he wants it, he's got to work for it. Mate, he had a brilliant first 25 minutes before he went off injured. Scored a hat trick on the first game. So, look, if he can do that again, I think that position is his. But come on, Shawnee, I can believe in you.
Well, listen, mate, Shawnee, we're all behind you. We do hope that you do crack in. And obviously, don't forget Baxter when you do crack into regular football, because we'd love to have you on the podcast. But obviously, moving on to that last team, it is the Manly Sea Eagles. Yes, that man on screen, he's not a new signing, but boy, if you're a Manly fan, he's going to feel like a new signing if he can come back and hit the ground running. But their 2023 losses, Andrew Davey to the Bulldogs, Sione Fanu to the Tigers, Kieran Foran to the Titans, which we've spoken about, Jorge Tafua to Wakefield, Marty DePau to Brisbane, which, like we all thought it was going to go to the Parramatta Eels. He turns into a Brisbane player a couple of days later. Dylan Walker to the Warriors. Now, their gains, Ben Condon, 2025, Zach Fulton till 2024, Cooper Johns till 2023. He's still not in the top 30, which we'll talk about soon. Nathaniel Roach till 2023, and Kelma Talagi till 2025. Now, we're going to start with the big talking point here. It's a new coach. It's Anthony Seibold. We didn't think it was a coach who deserved to take over his side.
Let's just stop that. He's not Anthony anymore. He's Tony. He's part of the boys now. He's Tony coach.
Oh, well, he's part of the boys. So Tony Seibold, talk to me about that. Is he the coach, to lead these players to another successful era? Now, we know that around that 2008 to 2011s, that was Manly's era. They were dominating. They were up there with Melbourne. They were up there with the Roosters. Is he the coach to lead these guys back, or do you see this being a very, very small stint at the Manly Sea Eagles until they get whoever they want to lead them in the future?
Look, let's be honest. It was a big shock and surprise, I think, to everybody that his name was even in the hat and discussions for getting the role after our man Desi Hasler. Look, they always say it takes a Manly person to coach Manly. And I think those days are gone. I think that memo or saying is sort of gone now, because people move here, there, and everywhere, and really, you don't have to be born and bred to know what Manly's about. There's people out in the West that I know who are diehard Manly fans, and they haven't probably stepped a foot inside the North Shore ever. So on to that, I think he'll be a great coach, because from all reports, he's one of these players that goes really, really depth when it comes to when it goes to game review and in-depth analysis with his players. So maybe that's what they were missing. Desi's more of a on the field, like Wayne Bennett, not really technology savage about it. But their losses, whilst you take Kieran Foran out of their losses, it's not really the big losses. I think they're just sort of they're trimming the fat away from the bone and getting rid of all of the, deadwood players. Like Dylan Walker, he hasn't done really much since the 2014 win with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So, but most of their gainings, I do know of. Most of them, because of the salary cap isn't finalised, they can't really offer him a contract past 2023 because they're unsure, of what cap room they will have now. Cooper Johns, you might give him a 4-year contract, but you don't know how much money you've got to wiggle with him. Zach Fulton was already signed, I believe, before talks about a salary cap increase. So so the players you can see on screen, like Ben Corden, Zach Fulton, and Talangai, were players that are already worked within the cap that it once was. So, well, once this RPLA and the NRL sit down and finalise a deal on the salary cap, I think all 17 teams, you'll see all these players that are on a training trial, get these massive upgrades and be paid for what they're worth. So good gains, good losses if you're a Manly Sea Eagles. But my concern is Tommy coming back from America. Yes, we've seen it with Latrell, but not everything's the same. So he could come back and, mate, right now he's a Ferrari with an engine. And is he worth renegotiating if he's going to keep getting injured? We'll just have to wait and see. But if he, do you play him at centre and put, someone else at fullback? Because, what do you do? You just keep him at fullback and let him get injured all the time? This is me. This is me asking any of the Manly fans, what would you rather? Would you rather him play centre and keep him healthy that he plays 24 games a season? Or, 21 games a season because he misses 3 for Origin? Or do you want him to, only play 10 games a season because he's half the time he's spent injured? What do you want?
Well, I'll ask you this question. Obviously, where is he safer? Yes, there's less running if he does go into the centres, but he's going to get belted by the likes of Latrell Mitchell. He's going to get belted by the likes of Joey Martin. He's going to get belted by the likes of David Fafita. You put him in the centres, it's not a safe position. He's going to get belted. He's going to get crunched. So, again, his best position might be fullback. You can slip him into the centres, but the whole of Manly's attack, you look at the whole season as a whole, it fell to shit when he wasn't playing fullback. Now, Garrick was a great fullback, don't get me wrong, but the difference is Garrick is a great fullback by himself. Tom Trebojevic lifts players with him. So Saab got better. Garrick got better. DCE was more free. Kieran Foran was more free to play around. So I think he does have to stay in that fullback position. Maybe every 2 or 3 games, you shift him somewhere else, you let him play somewhere else. But I think you've got a player right here that's worth 1.1 million because arguably on his day, he's one of the best fullbacks in the world. So again, it's not the same, but I'm backing whatever happened in America. I'm backing that this guy's going to be fit. And if he goes down injured, we don't negotiate past then and we let him run his contract out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just heard from a few Manly people, they're like, depending on how this result from America rehab is, that's really it's really up to that. Like if it comes out that this is the next best thing, now it's not surgery. Let's just, for people who don't understand, this is not surgery. This is just, I don't even know what you call the guy, if he's a professor or anything, but this is just a bloke who just really knows how to stretch out your muscles a different way to get a better result. It's not going under the knife and fixing you up because it's illegal here or whatever. No, it's just a different way to stretch the muscles. He works in...
I'll just jump in there, sorry. He's a reconditioning specialist. It's Bill Knowles from America.
Yeah. So he just knows how to... He's just giving Latrell Mitchell, Tommy T, and Paps from the Melbourne Storm. He's just giving them different ways to stretch out the muscles, because obviously something we're doing over here isn't working, and we're seeing these great fullbacks, go down too easy. Tommy T being suspect number 1, especially running through the Concord and doing hammies left, right, and centre. So he's just trying to give us a different way to stretch it out, recondition it. He does work with the Philadelphia, I think it's Union in the MLS. I'm not too sure about the Union part, but he works with the MLS, which is soccer for all the footy heads. He works with that, so that's a different type of stretching altogether. So I think he's bringing everything together. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 years we're sending, 5, 10, 15 players from every team to get worked on. Like if it gets like that.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, we've seen now. Obviously, the troll went over, came back, killed it. Tommy's come over. From all accounts, it's going well. He should be good for round one. Obviously, Pappenhausen, different story. He's come over. He's gone over. He's come back, and it hasn't seemed to go as well as everyone thinks. They still reckon he's going to miss the first 4 to 5 weeks of the NRL season, which we'll talk about when it's a storm. But like we said, there's no guarantee that this is going to hold up. So I think you've got to be kind of mindful. If there's any tweaks, rest him. I'd rather lose him for a week against someone than lose him for 20 weeks of the season. But I'll turn my attention to what I think probably the worst thing about the season now for Manly, and where everything could unravel and everything could go wrong, the lack of depth in the halves. Now, DCE, he's going to start. By all rumours, Josh Schuster's going to get the other position. That's going to be the halves partnership. Outside that, there isn't a lot of players that can play now. We've spoken about Cooper Johns. He is on a train and trial, but as of yet, he's not registered in the top 30 players for Manly. He's not in that NRL squad just yet. So I don't know if he's allowed to be added as a train and trial player or if he has to wait until he actually signs that proper contract. But all I know is 28 of the 30 have been locked in. So you'd assume he would be 29 or 30. So talk to me. You've got 2 players that can play in the halves, one with a lot of experience, Schuster with a little bit of experience, Cooper Johns with even less. So if their season was to unravel, take away Tommy Trbojevic injuries, is that halves a big issue this season for Manly?
Yeah. You lose Kieran Foran, a premiership winning player with the Sea Eagles, and you just leave Mr. DCE out in the middle. Josh Schuster, look, while he was promised to play 6, again, and I said it before and I'll say it again, some players are better positioned in other areas than the ones that they're currently playing. Josh Schuster, to me, is a front rower or a back rower. He ain't a 6. Look, the best I can say is, I had his name and it's lost on me. It was the South Sydney 6 who moved. He was playing 6. His name's John. Big tattooed bloke. You'd know him, Tony. I wish
you're asking the wrong person if you want me to know something about South Sydney. I'm the worst person you could ask, because
I should be.
If it was me, I'm kicking him out of the comp. Let's just be honest. If it's me, I'm getting him out of the comp. So I'm the last person you want to ask.
Yeah, well, look, for all those South Sydney fans out there, look, who are listening, you know who I'm talking about. He was playing 6 for God knows how many years before he made that ultimate shift to, I think it was back rower, right edge back rower. And Johnny Sutton, there you go. I got the name. It came back to me. Johnny Sutton, look, he wasn't a 6. He played 6 his whole junior footy and Harold Matts and a little of early days of the NRL. But then his best position was at right side of the back row. So look, Josh Schuster, sorry, go play in the forward pack, and then you move Cooper Johns to 6. Again, to your question, is it a problem? Yes, because after that I don't think they have any really quality depth, especially come Origin time. DCE is probably going to get picked. It's probably going to get picked at 7 at the moment. So what do they put Cooper Johns at 7 and they play Josh Schuster at 6, and then what is that, like whoever they verse during Origin time? I'll be just going after the halves, just going to jam them up when they got early ball and trying to rattle the cage, because when DCE gets back into the side, whoever's going to get jammed, I think there's going to be their egos, or not ego, but they're just going to feel a bit scared to run and do everything, and it's just going to make this Manly side unfold. And I could see it. You could see it slipping away from the top 8.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, like you said, that origin period is going to be very, very, very tough for a Manly side. If your halves are an inexperienced Cooper Johns and an inexperienced, obviously, Josh Schuster. Now, who knows? They could excel. You could go, you beauty, when DCA retires. We now have our half partners for a long time. We'll get someone to replace a bench player if we have to. But obviously, a side that was a bit lackluster last year, it's a bit scary going into a season where all it takes is one injury to DCE, one injury to Tom Trebojevic, and you're probably a bottom 4 side rather than a bottom 9 or top 8 position now. Final question to you. You kind of alluded to it. Are Manly a top 8 side, or do you see them finishing where most people think they are going to end this year in that bottom 9 positions?
If they are injury free, and that is a big if, and everything goes, sort of falls, everything goes their way, I see them a top 8. But again, Tommy goes down, bottom 9. So it really depends on Tommy. Tommy equals wins. No Tommy, no finals.
Well, I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen it without Tommy, they struggle. With Tommy, they excel. So it's going to be very interesting, but we are pushing over that 30-minute mark. So I'm going to leave you, like we said, with that one question or one statement that we're both going to ask, or one of us is going to ask each week. I'm going to hit it today. I'm going to ask you this question. It's got nothing to do with sport. It's got nothing to do with anything that you could possibly think of. But Baxter, if you're going to live on a desert island, you could only take one thing. What are you taking?
Oh, I'm taking my old iPod Nano, which has probably on 3,000 songs on there, so I can just listen to tune after tune after tune. Hopefully, I can build some sort of recharging device so I can never get bored. But yeah, that's what I'm bringing.
Well, let's hope the family doesn't listen to that one, because you could be in a bit of trouble if they do listen to that one, because you're not taking them. But there's two ways to answer this question. You think, like you did, something to keep you occupied. I'm taking a boat so that I can leave whenever I want and I can go back to the mainland. So, Baxter, it's been a great episode. We've talked about the Titans. We've talked about the Eels. We've talked about Manly. But we will be back. We will have a few episodes here and there. If there's something major, it breaks. Like on the next episode, who knows? We might bring up two of us to check if it is true that he might be coming back to the Roosters. We might bring up some injury news. Would you like to
number one? He's going to number one. He's going to number one. I've told
he's
you
not number
privately.
one. You have no idea what you're talking about. But Baxter, obviously, mate, thank you for joining me. We will be back, obviously, guys. We will talk about another 3 teams in the next episode. But hey, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and just share the video with your friends, your family members. Like, even if they don't listen to the rugby league, I don't really care. Share it with them anyway, because eventually they're either going to get pissed off and listen to it, or they're going to block you. So it's a win-win in your position. But Baxter, before we sign off, is there any questions or anything else you want to add to the podcast?
No, go home, be well, stay safe.
Go home, be well, stay safe, and don't get sunburnt, because peeling hurts like a son of a. So, Baxter, I'll talk to you soon, mate. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon.
Peace.